Live in Western Oregon, this is NBC 16 News at 5.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for NBC 16 at 5. I'm Alan Matthews.
And I'm Jacqueline Mazer. We continue to follow the latest on the coronavirus. The state of Oregon is now under a state of emergency as the number of coronavirus cases climbs to 14. There are 8 cases in Washington County, 2 in Jackson County, and cases in Klamath, Umatilla, Douglas, and Marion counties. Oregon Health Authority says there are 165 negative tests in the Oregon State Public Health Lab. There are currently 52 tests pending, the results expected tomorrow. 226 people are under monitoring. These are people who may have had exposure. 291 people have completed their monitoring, meaning they have gone 2 weeks in quarantine without developing symptoms. In Washington, there are more than 135 cases and 22 people have died. The U.S. now has more than 500 cases.
Wall Street reached historic lows as concerned about the continued spread of coronavirus combined with panic caused by an international price war over crude oil between Saudi Arabia and Russia triggered the first automatic halt in trading in 2 decades. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost nearly 8%, plunging more than 2,000 points. The Nasdaq went down over 600 points and the S&P 500 went down over 200 points. Today was the worst day on Wall Street since the 2008 recession.
Coos Health and Wellness is offering the community a forum to answer questions about the coronavirus. They will host a virtual town hall tonight at 5:30 with a panel of health officials and first responders. The change from an in-person meeting to a virtual forum is to protect the community. Eric Gleason says no matter what the circumstances are, it's still flu season.
Packing a bunch of people in a space elbow to elbow just didn't seem logical with the technology that we have at our fingertips at this point in society. We thought, let's try a virtual one. So people can do it from home, they can do it from their phones. It's at 5:30, maybe not everybody's off work, but you could still do it from your desk.
Officials say that in Coos County there are no pending coronavirus tests, but 6 previous patients have tested negative. To join the town hall, Coos Health and Wellness will use their Facebook page to go live. Questions will be accepted through email ahead of time. Plus, they will also answer some questions that come through the live feed. You can catch the Facebook Live on the Coos Health and Wellness Facebook page from 5:30 to 6:30 this evening.
Passengers of the Grand Princess cruise ship off the coast of California are disembarking after being held on board for a week.
At least 21 people on the ship tested positive for coronavirus. NBC 16 national correspondent Atra El-Nashar explains why the State Department is warning U.S. citizens against traveling by cruise ship.
Stay out of crowds. Don't do travel. Above all, don't go near a cruise ship.
This stark warning coming in the wake of nearly 24 cases reported aboard the Grand Princess cruise ship. Out of more than 3,500 people on board, 46 of them were included in the first round of testing.
No, there's far more than 21 cases that are brewing on that ship. I would be stunned if no one else is infected.
Dr. Gary Simon at George Washington University says the number of cases on that ship and elsewhere are stunted by a lack in test kits. In other words, you don't know how many people have coronavirus if you can't test them.
If you don't know if you're infected or not, you may spread the disease. Now, we put people on quarantine to try to reduce that, but quarantine is very difficult.
Today, the director of the CDC said labs in all 50 states have the capacity to test for coronavirus, but there are only 75,000 tests available nationwide. At the same time, the federal government's lifted requirements for who's allowed to get a test.
We could have had more test kits. This could have been prepared. Once we saw the thing in China, first beginning in China, we should have known that this is going to get bad.
Still, the message coming from the White House Coronavirus Task Force, led by Vice President Pence, is this.
The risk to the American public of contracting the coronavirus does remain low.
The message of downplaying this is really unfortunate. And it's we're trying to talk ourselves out of it. No, it's real. It's going to happen. It's going to get worse.
The director of the CDC says more commercial tests will be available as private businesses develop them. And the White House Coronavirus Task Force has a goal of making millions of kits available by the end of this week. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar.
The CDC also recommends returning students that are abroad amid challenges of traveling home and accessing proper health care in other countries. Some schools, including Loyola Chicago and State University of New York, have already taken steps to bring students back stateside. 18 SUNY Brockport students returned from study abroad in Italy early Sunday. They are quarantined on the campus for 14 days. Loyola University had hoped to return all of its 230 students studying in Rome by last week. Those students are also in quarantine quarantine for the required 2 weeks.
Looking at numbers worldwide, there are more than 108,000 coronavirus cases and more than 3,800 people have died. Most of these cases are in China, where the virus started. Italy is the European country with the most cases, reaching nearly 10,000. The whole country is now on lockdown. Other countries with high numbers are South Korea, Iran, France, Germany, and Spain.
And to wrap up those numbers, here in Oregon, once again, there are 14 cases. Oregon health authorities' recent reports show that there are 8 cases in Washington County, 2 in Jackson County, and 1 each in Klamath, Umatilla, Douglas, and Marion counties. For more information on the coronavirus, make sure to visit our website at NBC16.com.
Well, sunny skies today did allow temperatures to warm up quite nicely after the fog kind of mixed out of our area. So we did manage to make it up into the low 50s through the southern Willamette Valley, closer to 60 degrees. Umpqua Valley in mid 50s out towards the coast. And there's that beautiful sunshine that we saw earlier today. Just a few fair weather cumulus clouds, and really all the cloud coverage is remaining over the Cascades. That will be the trend we continue to see tonight as fog starts to fill the valley floors yet again, and temperatures slide back close to the freezing mark. Sunshine yet again tomorrow, but we have some big weather changes right around the corner. I'll have those details in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks a lot, Josh. Well, both Republican and Democratic state lawmakers came together today for an emergency board meeting to allocate urgent funding.
This comes after GOP lawmakers in both chambers walked out, ultimately stalling all bills and funding at the Capitol. NBC 16's Kelsey Christensen is live with the details. Kelsey?
Jacqueline, the emergency meeting comes after Senate President Peter Courtney adjourned the Senate late last week. Now today, state lawmakers unanimously passed $5 million worth of funding to the Oregon Health Authority to respond to the coronavirus. They also passed funding to flood victims in Umatilla County and approved money for the state's emergency management system. The last issue taken up was the controversial climate change funding with no votes from Republicans, but the $5 million was passed by lawmakers. The goal is for the Department of Environmental Quality to take action and establish 10 permanent positions to tackle the goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The funding comes in response to an expected upcoming executive action from Governor Kate Brown over climate change. Despite the funding passed today, a lot of funding and bills still died in the legislature.
And all of a sudden now they want to show up. Well, the damage is done.
Now, Eugene lost out on a bill that could raise millions for the 2021 World Track Championships. Senator James Manning said money for the Riverfront project is also gone. He says there could be a special session in May, but it has yet to be announced. Now, stay with us. I'll have a full report coming up in our next half hour. Jacqueline?
All right, thank you, Kelsey. Well, Oregon's portion of a West Coast earthquake warning system is not getting any help from the state legislature. Oregon lags behind California and Washington in the build-out of the Shake Alert early warning system for earthquakes. Getting new funding for Shake Alert is a priority for Governor Kate Brown in the short session. At stake was $7.5 million to set up more seismic data stations to figure the build out.
It's very unfortunate for the state of Oregon that we're not investing in resiliency now. It sets us back further. Without that state investment, it's going to be many, many years before we have a system that's complete.
Professor Toomey says the funds would have paid for 83 more seismic data stations to meet federal requirements and make public alerts possible. The system of sensors can detect tremors in the earth and provide warning before the big one hits.
In Springfield, there have been almost 700 crashes between 2012 and 2016 on Main Street, and city officials are looking at ways to make the roads safer. City officials report that 3% of all crashes involve pedestrians, yet they are involved in 75% of all fatal crashes, with 21% of all crashes deemed either fatal or severe. The aim of the project is to ultimately make Main Street safer for pedestrians, biking, driving, and taking transit.
The possible infrastructure elements that we're considering are raised center medians, different types of intersection control, whether that be signals or roundabouts, different types of bicycle infrastructure, and different types of pedestrian facilities.
Now, those solutions are still being considered and evaluated. Our Canadian says that according to our official, coming up tonight at 5:30, find out the intersections on Main Street that are seeing the highest number of crashes and how you can help.